Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Rodcast. We are talking about online and in person church and how they can work together. If you have any questions around the why or maybe the theology behind uh, this whole new expression of church online, go back, listen to the previous episode, because right now we're going to be talking about how to implement both of these streams, both of these expressions of church together in your context and just what we've learned over the last few years in doing so. So, Pastor Rod, can I ask you, how do you see online and in person working well together, and how can we be excellent in both of those expressions of church? Big question.
It's a lot of work and a lot of hard work, but so you've got to be committed to it if you believe in it. It's got to be a growing thing. I don't think we were talking about it before. No one started off great. We've had to learn a lot of things, how to speak into a camera and how to get the lighting, and there's a lot of things but we have grown up in that a little, and maybe we could help some others with that as well. Um, I think both are great. And so I would love to see both online and in person both being excellent, 100%. We might need to have some staff specializing or some volunteers specializing, but we believe in it so much. We will continue, even after COVID, to have online and in person. We love them both.
How did you talked about staff there, and or maybe for some other churches that might be volunteers as well. How did you pivot from being a church that was mostly in person, although we did have some online expression at that point? How did you pivot towards when that the season of being online only, and how did that impact your volunteers and your staff?
So when COVID hit in 2020, we did have an online experience. It was live streaming our service in Tokyo, which is bilingual. And yeah, we had a good number of viewers there from around Japan, I guess, and maybe a few overseas. It was actually very good. the The good news for us is that we actually had just upgraded all that equipment. We were given a gift, and we had actually good equipment, and we had a couple of staff. And but when we hit COVID, we had to move from live streaming from a service to just pre-recorded. We made that decision immediately. I know a lot of people still did live streaming with an empty building, and if you could do that, that was great. But we felt we couldn't do that, so that's a style choice. There's nothing else in that. But we went for studio, for the concept of now we're going to be like YouTubers. We're going to do it on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram to a degree, and we're going to learn a new style. And our team has to all come across, and we're going to have to learn how to be do something, because we didn't have Sunday service anymore. It just hit like everyone knows, just immediately. And so my pastoral team, I said, now you're going to have to pastor online through WhatsApp or through Line or through, we're going to have to interact with people online. Some people are going to have to be better at photography or learn video editing or learn lighting skills or learn YouTube preaching. We all had to change. But as the leader, I said to everyone, you have to change. Like, I knew this was going to be for a while in Japan. I knew it. And Japanese are quite cautious anyway. And I knew that this was going to be a big deal for Japan. And it certainly was. So we were 2 years without an in-person service. Isn't that crazy? And yet we stayed strong because we went for that option of pre-recording, and our small groups went to Zoom so successfully. I don't know if we're going to have time to talk about that here, but that was the key to our strength right through those 2 years. No Sunday service, no Wednesday night service, but most of our people on Zoom every single week, or very regularly. So we pivoted um, the Sunday service to a pre-recorded, and we had English, bilingual, and Japanese. And then for you, I guess it was bilingual, Cantonese, and we did Mandarin, and when we did Indonesian, and we did Korean, and we did a bunch of other languages that we had to. But we pivoted fast, and thank goodness we had some basic skills that we could train people. We could talk about the right camera, the right basic lights, which was pretty inexpensive, and software, etc. So that sort of stuff. And a person my age, I'm 62. I knew we had what we had to do. I had no idea how to do it. So all my young team, I said, "Help! We're going to do this. Help!" And everyone had a great heart. Everybody was just going to make this work, and I think it was some of the hardest working time of our life. Learning new skills and having to get something for the next Sunday, and then we got um, some of our stuff was taken down from YouTube because it's all that stuff we had to learn. Um, but it was fast, and our small groups immediately went to Zoom, and everyone was told, and it was fast. So we just made that decision, had to make it work. We did have some good equipment, but we had to learn very fast.
Yeah, our experience here in Hong Kong was we didn't have a single person in the church with video editing experience or anything
Wow.
prior to this. And obviously, we learned a lot from you guys and YouTube tutorials and but I found our team was very excited to learn
Right.
new skills. Like,
Yeah.
although we were disappointed at losing our in-person expression of church, I think with the focus of being online and no other choice, it's like, okay, let's really explore this. And
Mm,
I think that became very fun. And it's definitely 2 years later, like there's some strength there now with what we do. But it certainly took time. There's a lot of mistakes
mm.
through throughout that experience, but it's been a lot of fun.
That's great to hear. And your team's all grown, and they've all got new skills.
Yeah, yeah.
And some of our teams around Lifehouse churches or campuses have actually got jobs in their new skills in video editing, website design, whatever it is. It actually did develop people for new jobs, and that's
Mhm.
also exciting.
And I would say that, like, I think because we learn from zero, we're also teaching people from zero, and
Yeah.
that's some of our biggest teams right now is like video editing and filming, and young
Mm,
people love this stuff. They just
yeah.
want to learn this. So I think it's been a really exciting journey, and it's been a great outreach. Like, even just this week, I was talking to our youth leader, and he was saying, "Can we run some classes for non-Christian youth who want to learn, how to do this stuff?"
Mm,
And it's because they want these skills.
yeah.
So that's been really exciting too.
Well, we actually did talk a lot about that. What I call future skills or future jobs. Here in Japan, a lot of people study at university for many years and don't get critical skills. Now, of course, if they're going to do dentistry or medicine or accounting, of course they're going to have the skills. But a lot of people do courses that at the end are not going to lead them to a specific job. And I think there are a number of people, not huge number, but there's a number of people that if they were exposed to what you just said, video editing, camera work, video work, um, music production, they're going to get very excited and go deeply into that using church as a springboard. Future jobs. In fact, I was seeing someone on YouTube the other day talking about how they always used to say jobs of the future is all engineering, IT, digital, coding. He says, I still believe all that, but the one I've added to that is anything to do with video production, like a major person helping the vocational world, like a TED Talks person. And I thought that was interesting. He added that because of COVID. There's a whole new area of future jobs and of course, there's side gigs and YouTubers and all sorts of things. But that's probably not for a lot of people are going to be successful at that. Some will, but the jobs where there's always going to be future is audio and visual design and production. And some people just get on alive or social media skills, or a lot of our young people have just come alive with that. It's really exciting, eh?
It is, and I think the reason. why I bring up our situation is just that, like, we weren't this heavily resourced church, both in the area of skill, or could pay staff to do this
Yeah,
at the time, and then also thinking of other churches in our movement, like, for example, in Korea, who had not even launched. We
yeah,
were we were going to launch in March of 2020,
yeah,
and COVID prevented all of that, and yet they are running their own service, bilingual service in Korean, producing their own content, with a very small team.
yeah,
Uh, we had no choice, but
yeah.
it's this can work with a church with a team of less than 10 people. Um, yeah, so
And
this it actually does scale.
and with the career story, you're just saying all the team, they love it and they love each other. They had to work through some really hard hours and some lack of equipment, but instead of getting upset, they became a team, a very strong team, and love each other. I think that's really exciting, actually, to see that. Yeah,
Yeah, or in Bali, within doing services
yeah,
in Indonesian, and it's been cool to see the different expressions coming out in different languages and different sizes of churches, like with
mm,
Tokyo being our largest, and how you've been able to help the movement, but then also all the way down to a church that is not yet launched can
yeah,
even do this. I think that should encourage any church of any size,
yeah.
that could be listening to this.
I love it. We've got a church in Pakistan that launched during COVID, and we met them online, trained them for a year online, and the man who is a school teacher, a really great man of God, was going out to village after village doing personal discipleship, small groups, and I think he had like 10 outreaches, and he said, "What can I do?" And we said, video what you do, and you can reach more villages." So he was at his capacity, wanted to serve the Lord, and so we gave him a camera, lighting, and some training, and he did some basic stuff for kids and now adults, and we're just seeing some of his work now in their language, that is very basic, but he's reaching probably hundreds of people, training hundreds of people. He just this week again said he's got all these new connect group leaders ready to go, and it's amazing. And so he had nothing. He had no
Yeah.
skills, and now 2 years later, he's actually broadcasting and still meeting too many people. he can't he can't disciple them all. But it's that's the excitement that we're seeing around the world, many countries. Yeah,
So we are saying that there is a learning curve to this. Like,
yeah,
it's obviously there's some trial and error in some of this, and you have to
mm,
train yourself. But if if the person or the team is motivated,
yeah,
uh, there's a lot you can do with with
mm,
with very small resource or even skill at the beginning.
yeah,
I think even going back over our old videos of even just 2 years ago, a lot has changed.
yeah,
The skill level has gone up a lot, and I think that's encouraging. That wherever you start, that's okay. You just start.
yeah, yeah. Really, really, really important. And we've actually resourced some countries of the world, some friends that couldn't just get that basic camera and lighting. We've actually been able to raise some money and give a gift to Russia, for example, or to a group for Myanmar, etc. So it's not us doing it all; it's us actually training groups beyond us to do this. And then they're saying, "Well, what do you do here?" And basic training, and they're going to move it in their direction. We're not saying that ours is the only way, but this can be scaled out to a whole bunch of countries in the world with some basic skills and a learning curve. Yeah, that's right.
And give it a few more years. And with the way phone technology is going,
Mm,
I mean, already the camera in the kind of like the best iPhones is unbelievable. As so the tech is
yeah,
just, yeah. You don't need this huge. You don't need a studio and all of this stuff to start. And actually, there's very
no,
successful YouTubers who are just doing
yeah.
stuff on very small setups.
Well, I think that's one of the things we learned about online production of our services is that you can just be yourself. It really is a different style. It's like this. It's talking and then having to be I don't know what's interesting is a good word, to be interesting and stay interesting. And because we've got a great message about Jesus, we want people to hear, but we've got to use a different style. So it was funny because sometimes early on we did some things that, like, a light fell over, or you know,
Yeah,
it still does, I
in the
guess.
middle of your preaching. Yeah.
And we just said, just let her go, let her rip. In Australian speak, let's let her rip. And people said that was the best part. That was the best part of the service. Now we sort of laugh at that and think, really, but it's just being goofy and real, which we have discovered, and many people have discovered, is the language of this new generation of authenticity and real and behind the scenes. And how do you do that and show us? And even now, when we do our music stuff, we're doing camera work behind to show what the day looked like, and that's probably the most popular stuff. Is what did your day look like when you were recording? Um, and I love that too. If I see others, I would probably watch that too. And how the team interacts together and how they overcome problems. So the YouTube style is very, I think it was very natural for us, working with bilingual and different languages, and but keeping the goofiness and the fun and the happiness, along with our very real message that we want to bring about Jesus. So it's been a great discovery, hasn't it?
Yeah. So I think about I feel like what a bit about what you're saying is the production. While it is important and we can learn those skills and it's great, like learn it, get better at it, it's great. But ultimately, just being real and interesting people and living your life out and expressing that and catching the spontaneity of moments and things like that. That's actually what people want to see. And they don't want to see a perfect,
No.
completely polished product. They want to see real life. And especially, I think, in the church context, uh, they, yeah, they want to see people they can relate to and connect with and that are not coming across as perfect or, yeah,
Mm.
we can leave
That's
that stuff in.
absolutely. We're good at that. We're good at not being perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And we
I've-
love it too. And I think a lot of our preachers have really, really loved this time to rediscover
mhm.
preaching
Yeah.
for a new generation, which, we've talked a bit about our own preaching style, which we're not saying others should do, but we feel we have a philosophy of preaching that's good for a new generation. And how do we do that? And we can teach that if people want to know about it. I was actually asked to do a doctorate, a doctorate. I'm not doing a doctorate. A doctorate YouTube with a bunch of preaching students around the world. And I said, when they asked me to do it, I said, I'm just me. I'm just who I am. And they said, well, just share what you're doing. So I just shared about our style and storytelling and reaching people. And I said to them, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm not trying to change your style. You've just asked me what we're doing. But they were really interested. I met that professor last week again, and he said that was a great talking point. Now that doesn't mean they followed us, but it was a discussion point. Wow, there's new styles. There's new. Let's look at that and this and that, and I think that's what we can do, is talk about styles, not from a point of view that we are right, but this is what we've experienced. This is what we've discovered for us. If it can help you, great. If not, great. Um, but this YouTube style, I think, is great. I think it's less stress.
Yeah.
Our preachers, some of them got stressed before. Now they're just enjoying preaching more. And then we're going back to in person, and they're saying, I'm not as stressed back at in person because of the experience of doing it in a camera. So it's actually bounced back into in person as well, I think, hasn't it? Like, let's keep this style going. It works for us.
Absolutely. And I feel like what we're saying is that super ultra polished approach, very few people or maybe churches can actually do that. Whereas everyone can do just real and, even some bloopers in there as well. And like everyone can do that. Uh,
Yep.
So that
Everyone can do
I
that.
think that's a great message for me. Like, speaking of preaching, I really didn't want to preach to a camera. Like, I just felt, I think because I felt like I was not polished enough.
Right.
And when I started having that revelation of, no, actually, you've just got to be yourself. And although I was doing that in person, I just felt like in front of a camera, the pressure was on to be a certain way, and I had to get rid of that thinking. And now I really enjoy it. And we're actually looking for those moments where kind of something comes out and it's funny or interesting, or uh, it's good.
So going back to in person, I mean, you still do
Mhm.
it on camera, but
Yep.
did that reflect back on in person on your preaching? Do you think?
Well, the way that we're yeah, absolutely is the answer. But the way that we're doing our services now, with lining up our online message with our in-person message. So let's say we're preaching on faith for this week. It's the same message online as the in-person experience. It means we've filmed that message 3 weeks in advance, and so I've already preached it to a camera, which has helped me to flesh it out. Then I get that message back. I can watch it and see which parts I liked, and what I can improve on. We can add other media to it, which is really exciting, bringing it to life, making it
Mm,
way better. And then we can use that media in person, whether it's graphics or little short videos. And by the time I'm preaching it in person, I've been able to also digest my own message again.
right. Mm,
And it's coming out uh,
right.
a lot more processed, not
Yep.
perfect, but
No. It.
I just love that process. So on Saturday night, I'm
Yeah.
watching my own message. Now I'm cringing, when you listen to yourself, but it's actually helping me. And even on the
Yeah.
way to church Sunday morning, I'm
Mm,
listening again, and it's
mm,
it's it's helping me memorize my message more. So
right.
I think there's some very practical
Yeah.
aspects to public speaking there that also helps.
I was told once that you can. There's such a thing as preaching yourself happy, and I think that's what you're saying. You're learning, you're growing, and you want to deliver for Jesus and for the people. But it's actually not stressful, is it? What you just said is it's not really. It's not stressful. You would turn up and hi everyone, and away you go, and deliver what God's put on your heart with just joy. And yeah, I think that sounds great.
I mean, it would be a bit different if we were preaching different messages.
Right.
If the in person was not lining
Mm,
up with online. So I think it just made sense for us to also to
yeah.
do that for a number of reasons. One is it's helping our preachers, but also it gives people the choice of uh, the online experience or the in person. I'm going to get consistent messaging, whichever expression of church I choose
Right.
or that I'm able to attend on that week. So the whole church is hearing the same message. So I like that as well from a
Mm,
pastoral perspective. If we're talking about faith, everyone's going to hear about faith on that weekend, no matter what expression of church they're a part of.
it's great. And discipleship occurs. Everyone's going to grow together. It's great. Mm,
Mm. Do you have any practical advice for pastors and leaders who are looking at this and thinking, yeah, I can see that the online expression of church, uh, you know, is part of the future. We're not saying it's the whole future, but it's certainly a significant part of
mm.
it. It's not going away. It's not just a COVID only thing, uh, and they're wanting to put more energy into that.
Yeah.
Any advice for them
Yeah.
going down that path?
I think there's got to be something of interest and passion. So they're not trying to copy someone else. Like you can't copy, a big church or even a church in a different context. I would say get excited about some of the context that you can bring to your community. And so you might be a church and you do really good marriage prep. Well, maybe that would be what you're passionate and you're good at it. Talk about marriage and or parenting or education or um, deeper Bible studies. I've seen expressions of all of those, and I've thought that's really good. even if it was like just a basic, just someone talking and that. But they were passionate. There's something attractive about people who are passionate, hey, and passionate and context. So it's gonna touch lives, and then others have more of a national or international appeal. Well, that's their gift. Use that. But I think you're talking about like a smaller church. What can we do to reach people in our community? And I think one of the things I've heard about is when people have gone to a local fair or a local thing, and they've just talked to people and say, "I'm recording. Is that okay?" Like, you got to get permission. What do you think of this? And just a bit of that in the community gets interest. One of our couples up north here in Japan did a car trip with the camera on and off, and it was at night, so that's not that interesting. But that the way they were talking was pretty interesting, and it was like not every minute, just every maybe every half an hour. Here we are, and wow, look at that! What's and that was the most views they ever got, and it was like a travelogue. And then they talked about their marriage, and I thought, wow, that if they could get a base of people to talk to, and then get some people talking back, that's pretty interesting. I've also seen some people do some things that are not interesting, and so you need a good friend,
Right.
to say, "Hey, you're really good at this. Why don't you try that?" Or maybe that's not the area you're in. Like, maybe you're trying to talk to a national group, but actually that's more of a local group. So you need a friend or a church or a consultant to come and help you, or just a really good friend who has some good background of this, or look at some YouTube videos, some how to be better speaker on YouTube, how to do this. Now, again, I'm an older person. I'm not old, thank you. 62. So I'm not interested in learning new skills about how to,
Right.
and I don't have to because I've got a team. I'm not saying I'm beyond it. I'm just saying I just don't have time for that. But I want to like inspire some young people. Why don't you look at that? Why don't you do this and help me with that, and helping them also grow, and so we're learning together. So some churches, I would say to the pastor, grab your 15-year-olds and learn how to do a YouTube video with them, or your 18-year-olds and how to do a panel discussion with them, or like utilize your young team in their passion. And I think you'll make some new friends as well along the way. So we don't have to be good at everything. In fact, we're not. But so, what are you good at? What's your context? What can you do? And the last thing I'd say is, what can you do repeatedly? Because if it's just one, you gain audience and lose the audience. So if it's something you could repeat, uh, dig into a bit more. One of our pastors here in Tokyo is going around some Tokyo sites, historic sites that have Christian background, and actually talking about history in Japanese language. And his sidekick, his side partner, is very funny, and so together they make this pretty good history show from just walking around a site. Now, so it's going to be random almost, a chance meeting of what you can do well in your area. I don't know if I can answer better than that, but you've just got to find your context. You find your voice.
I think that's a great point, that you don't have to learn all the skills yourself, and that there would be people at different life stages or levels of interest. May not be an age thing, it might just be level of passion or whatever, and you can do something. I even think of what's happening in Sri Lanka, and we've got a great couple there who are planning a church through Zoom, and are not experienced with producing any kind of content or anything like that, and they've learned some very very simple skills, but are able to have a very effective outreach,
Hmm.
and people getting saved through that. So there's all different levels to this.
Yeah, they're doing amazing. I mean, they really have reached a whole new people group, and they're very authentic, aren't they? They're very real, very loving, and then they're having a go. And I'm sure those young people are helping them as well. Like, that's part of the growth of the church plant is people watching them do all that and thinking, "Wow, they really love Sri Lanka."
Hmm. Yeah, but there is a learning curve to some of this, and like for me, preaching to a camera, like that was.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I gotta get good at this. This is part of the future. Like this is,
Yeah.
and getting excited about what it could mean. But there are some skills that
Yeah.
we could learn that could open up a bigger world to us online, for sure. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. How about for yourself personally? Has there been anything, I don't know, practically that's kind of helped you or helped you navigate all of this as like as a church? And
I've actually loved going online, um, because I could see the impact of it. I love
yeah,
meeting in person. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah,
I knew I knew that we were going to be online for a long time when it hit Japan, and I loved it. And I loved the YouTube thing, and I loved the team all growing and learning. I watched the team all become more of a team, and that was an incredible moment to watch. And there's a few things I would have done differently as a leader, but mostly I think we did get it pretty right. So, but I still don't know how to do a live stream. You know, head of a movement, all these campuses. I still don't know how to do a lot of stuff because I didn't have to, and it's actually part of my, you know me, Richard. I call it intentional laziness,
yeah,
which is not really laziness. It's just saying to people, "I can't do that. Can you help me? I
yeah.
can't do that. Can you help me?" And finding people quickly to lock into that job that they are passionate about.
Hmm.
I've always done that, and I've always found people to grow. So in this season, I've just seen a whole, really tens and tens of young people growing. I don't know if I already answered your question there, but I am excited by this whole thing. That as we move forward back to in person, we're going to bring some of those skills back. And people are talking about the meta church and all this stuff. That's for the future. I don't even know what that's going to happen there, but I'm excited. I think God is on the throne, and He's in control, and that His church will become better and better. And I'm very positive and very hopeful about the church of the future.
Can I ask about the experience of leading a church when in-person services have been gone for 2 years and now they're starting back again, and obviously the church looks very different in person on a Sunday, and you've still got this online expression. Like, what could you speak to the heart of leaders here who maybe have been through that? Maybe some other parts of the world it's not been
Sure.
so dramatic, but
Yeah.
um,
I, I'd say with I'd say majoritively we're all smaller coming back in person, but more passionate. That's what I'm hearing from around the world. Now, some people will say we grew, but I think majoritively worldwide, the church is not as big as it was, but people have come back passionate. And the other thing is, people who come back as those who were involved in a dream team or in a small group or what we call connect groups or online, they got on fire. People have come back passionate. And then there's all these new people coming in. I'm hearing this from almost everyone that all of a sudden there's a bunch of new people came in because we had online. These people have followed us and now they've. So the church does look really different, but it's the same vision and passion, maybe even more passion. And there's a passion for souls and there's a passion of growth. So we're smaller and maybe with that some challenges with finances, although I think we can grow back. But I, I I think the church is great. And if I could just speak for the future, I just sense the Holy Spirit is going to move in a way we've never seen before. We've got to get ready. We've got to be hopeful. We've got to be agents of hope and joy and teaching the Word of God well and training leadership. And we've got to get ready for this next season. And so, even if the church is smaller, if people are passionate, be encouraged, would be my advice. Be encouraged and train people. And I was just talking to one of our pastors this morning who said they've got all these new people wanting to be connect group leaders or wanting to be small group leaders. They've lost a few people here and there, but all of a sudden they've got this impetus and all these people saying, feed me, help me, grow me. And so even if it's one or two, train, get with people, grow people, get them ready because I believe we're going to have a move of God that we've never had before, and it's going to come across the whole world. I'm excited.
Mm, absolutely. I feel the same way. And I think exploring this whole online thing just only adds to what our church can offer people in the future.
Yeah,
I think about the fact that as technology improves, this is only going to get better. Like
yeah,
going from Paul's letters to video is a big
yeah,
jump. And I don't know what VR and all that's going to be like in the future, but it's certainly exciting for its application with how we can get the gospel to more people and
yeah,
in a more
yeah.
compelling way.
That sounds great. There's a statistic out there that right now, and that statistic is 42% of the world have still not had a chance to hear about Jesus. 42%. It's about 3.5 billion. And I just think online is going to be a part of the big strategy of God for reaching the world. That's not taking away from in person at all, but it's just more outreach all the time. And a lot of our people are able to be part of that evangelism so easily, right? They're just a phone
Mhm.
or sharing, whatever. Um, the pool of sharers of the gospel has increased so much, and will continue to increase. So let's empower each other how to reach out to more people right now.
Would you? I don't know if you've heard anyone ask this or whether people have this question, but if for a pastor who's thinking about the online expression, like, would you have anything to say to them if they're concerned that, well, if I give our church this option, then they're going to take that option and our
Mm,
Sunday will look smaller?
yeah, it
Any
will. It
Right.
will, but it will anyway. So no matter what you do, it will for a season. And again, some churches will say, no, we actually grew, but most churches I'm talking to around the world are smaller, even with great pastors, great teams, great everything, great facilities. So I just think it's going to happen. And we just have to do everything we can to reach some. Paul said, I will do all things to reach some. And when in Rome, do as the Romans do. So we've got to be using the communication style of the world. Not that we become worldly, but we need to use it all to reach the world. So I would say, if you don't, you may not get new people, because I really think this is about getting a lot of new people. They're coming. They are coming. And a lot of them are coming to us are not yet believers, but they're actually interested. We're finding on the streets of Tokyo, people are more interested. We just have to meet them. And I'm sure it's the same in many countries of the world. People, after the pandemic, need friends. They want friends and they're open to friendships. And so, by all means, um, go for it, because the church is smaller but more passionate. And I think the front doors are just going to open more if we're ready for that.
Mm. It's great. Well, we have talked a lot about online, and I guess that's because the in-person thing, we're not questioning that.
No,
That's not questioned. So it's not that this is more important than everything we do in person. Of course not. But we we do feel like we need to talk about this expression of church just because it is so new and it's what people are asking about. So just to clarify that for anyone wondering about these topics. We want to be excellent in both. Is that correct?
absolutely. You're right, Rich. And I just echo that. We are specifically talking to one of the two great ways to do church. And in person, we love it. We enjoy it. We want to get back and meet people and all that. But there are a lot of people not coming back. And there are a lot of people need to have their first expression online. So it's this balance. The hybrid model is what we're saying. Both excellent, both good, both moving ahead. No criticism of each. Let people make their choice in their time, but they're being discipled. That's the key question. Are people moving towards Jesus? That's the key question.
Great. Well, thanks so much for your time, Pastor Rod. I hope that inspired some people to maybe think about this a little bit more and to be encouraged with exploring the whole online expression of church. And we'll see you in the next Rodcast episode. Bye bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you enjoyed today's episode with Pastor Rod, why don't you subscribe on whatever platform you are listening to this, and we'll see you next time.